You're right where you need to be. Right now, in this very moment, everything that has happened in your life has led you here. And I want you to know something profound. The fact that these words are reaching you now is not an accident. There's a divine timing to everything in this universe, and when you're truly ready to receive a message, when your soul has reached that exact frequency, that's when it appears. Not a moment sooner, not a moment later. Think about the times in your life when you've heard something that completely changed your perspective. Maybe it was a book that fell off a shelf, a conversation you overheard, or a stranger's words that struck you like lightning. You might have heard similar words before, but this time, something was different. This time, you were ready. The student was ready, and the teacher appeared. That's not just a saying. That's the law of the universe working in perfect harmony with your consciousness. You see, we live in an intelligent universe. Not a random one, not a chaotic one, but an intelligent, purposeful universe that responds to the energy we put out. And when I say you're ready, I mean something very specific. I mean you've reached a point in your awareness where you can actually receive and implement what you're about to understand. Before this moment, you weren't ready. You might have thought you were, but your consciousness hadn't evolved to the point where these truths could take root in your being. Let me tell you something about readiness that most people don't understand. Being ready isn't about being perfect. It's not about having all your problems solved or having your life completely together. Being ready means you've suffered enough, you've struggled enough, you've questioned enough, and you've opened yourself enough to say, there must be another way. That moment of surrender, that moment of genuine openness, that's when the universe says, now they're ready. You've probably spent years, maybe even decades, living from your ego. Your ego has been running the show, making decisions based on fear, based on what other people think, based on proving yourself, based on accumulating more and more stuff to feel worthy. And that ego has served its purpose. It's gotten you to where you are today, but now you're ready to move beyond it. Now you're ready to understand that you are not your ego. You are something far more magnificent. The universe knows when you're ready because it can feel the shift in your energy. When you stop resisting life and start flowing with it, the universe takes notice. When you stop trying to control every outcome and start trusting the process, doors begin to open. When you stop looking outside yourself for validation and start connecting with the infinite wisdom within, that's when the magic happens. And what is this message that appears when you're ready? It's the understanding that you are not separate from the source of all creation. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Every atom in your body contains the same intelligence that creates galaxies, that makes flowers bloom, that causes your heart to beat without you thinking about it. That intelligence is within you, and when you're ready, you can tap into it at will. But here's what stops most people from accessing this power. They've been conditioned their entire lives to believe that they're limited, that they're just human beings subject to random forces beyond their control, that life happens to them rather than through them. And as long as you hold on to those beliefs, as long as you let that conditioning run your life, the universe can't deliver the message you need to hear, because you're not on the right frequency yet. Think of it like a radio. The music is always playing. All the frequencies exist simultaneously in the air around you, but you only hear the station you're tuned into. If you're tuned into fear, you'll receive more experiences that create fear. If you're tuned into lack, you'll notice lack everywhere. But when you're ready, when you've done the inner work to shift your frequency, you suddenly start receiving a completely different broadcast. You start receiving inspiration, synchronicities, opportunities, and insights that were always there but invisible to your previous level of consciousness. The truth is, you create your reality with your thoughts. Now, I know you've heard that before. Everyone talks about the law of attraction, about positive thinking, about visualizing what you want. But most people are using these concepts from their ego, trying to manipulate the universe into giving them what they think they want. That's not what I'm talking about. When you're truly ready, you understand that creation isn't about getting, it's about being. You don't create from a place of lack, trying to fill a void. You create from a place of wholeness, expressing the magnificence that's already within you. The universe doesn't respond to your words or even your actions. It responds to your being, to your state of consciousness, to the energy you're vibrating at. And when you're ready, your state of consciousness shifts from fear to love, from scarcity to abundance, from separation to connection. Now, let me address something important. You might be thinking, but I've been struggling for so long. I've been waiting for things to change. I've been doing the work. Why hasn't my life transformed yet? And the answer is simple. You've been doing, but you haven't been being. You've been trying to change your external circumstances without changing your internal state. You've been looking for happiness, success, and peace outside yourself when the only place they've ever existed is within. The moment you're ready is the moment you stop searching and start realizing. You stop trying to become something and start recognizing what you already are. You are not a human being trying to have a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. And until you're ready to accept that truth, to live from that truth, to make decisions from that truth, the universe can't fully work through you. There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. You can read every spiritual book ever written, attend every seminar, listen to every talk, but until you're ready to actually live these principles, until you're ready to let go of your old identity and step into your true nature, nothing fundamentally changes. Knowledge is not transformation. Information is not realization. The universe knows when you've moved from knowing about these truths to knowing these truths, from understanding them intellectually to embodying them fully. And here's something beautiful about this process. You can't force readiness. You can't push yourself or anyone else into being ready before their time. It unfolds naturally when you stop resisting your life and start accepting where you are. Every challenge you've faced, every heartbreak, every disappointment, every failure has been preparing you for this moment. Nothing has been wasted. Everything has been necessary to bring you to this level of readiness. Some people become ready through crisis. Their old life falls apart so completely that they have no choice but to let go and surrender. Others become ready through gradual awakening, a slow and steady shift in consciousness over years or even decades. There's no right way to become ready. The universe doesn't judge your path. It simply responds when you reach that frequency of openness and receptivity. You want to know if you're ready? Ask yourself these questions. Can you accept your life exactly as it is right now without needing it to be different? Can you love yourself completely, including all the parts you've been trying to fix or hide? Can you trust that the universe is supporting you even when circumstances appear otherwise? Can you release your attachment to specific outcomes and allow life to surprise you? If you can honestly answer yes to these questions, you're ready. If you're still wrestling with them, you're getting ready, and that's perfect too. The universe operates on perfect timing. Not early, not late, but always exactly when it needs to happen. You might look at your life and think you're behind, that you should be further along by now, that others are progressing faster than you. But that's your ego, comparing and judging. Your soul knows there's no such thing as behind or ahead. There's only your unique path unfolding in its own time. When you're ready, you stop living from your head and start living from your heart. Your head will always find problems, create worry, and generate anxiety because that's what it's designed to do. It's a tool for navigating the physical world, but it's a terrible master. Your heart, on the other hand, your heart knows. It doesn't know through logic or analysis. It knows through feeling, through intuition, through connection to source. And when you're ready, you give your heart permission to lead. This shift from head to heart is what changes everything. Suddenly, decisions become easier because you're not overthinking them. You feel what's right. You sense the next step. You trust your inner guidance instead of seeking constant validation from outside sources. The universe can work through you more efficiently because you're not blocking the flow with mental resistance and doubt. Let me tell you about the power of surrender. Most people think surrender means giving up, waving a white flag, admitting defeat. But true surrender is the most powerful thing you can do. Surrender means releasing your grip on how you think things should be and opening yourself to how they actually are and how they want to become. It means trusting that the intelligence that created you knows better than your limited ego what's best for your life. When you're ready to surrender, miracles happen. Not because you're suddenly worthy of miracles, but because you've removed the obstacles that were blocking them. You've always been worthy. The miracles have always been available, but your resistance, your control, your fear kept them at bay. Surrender is the key that unlocks the door. And what do you surrender to? Not to fate, not to chance, not to some external deity that may or may not be paying attention. You surrender to the highest part of yourself, to the infinite intelligence within you, to the creative force that beats your heart and grows your hair and heals your wounds without you consciously doing anything. That force wants to create through you, to express itself through your unique personality and talents, to bring something into the world that only you can bring. But it can't do that while you're trying to control everything, while you're living in fear, while you're making decisions based on what you think you should do rather than what you feel called to do. When you're ready, you let go of the should and step into the is. You stop shooting all over yourself and start being yourself, fully and unapologetically. Now here's what most people don't tell you about this process. When you become ready, when you start operating from this new level of consciousness, your life might get uncomfortable before it gets better. The old patterns, the old relationships, the old job, the old ways of being that no longer serve you will start to fall away. And that can be scary. Your ego will scream, "Go back. This is too risky. What if you fail? What will people think?" But when you're truly ready, you recognize that voice for what it is. It's not truth, it's fear. And fear is just the ego's attempt to keep you safe, to keep you small, to keep you in the familiar, even if the familiar is killing your spirit. You thank the fear for trying to protect you, and then you move forward anyway, because you've tasted something beyond fear. You've touched the truth of who you are, and you can never completely forget it again. The universe rewards courage. Not reckless bravado, but the quiet courage of following your inner voice, even when it doesn't make logical sense. When you're ready, you understand that the path of the soul rarely makes sense to the mind. It asks you to leap before you see the net. It asks you to trust before you have proof. It asks you to give before you know if you'll receive. And every time you take that leap, the universe catches you. Every time you trust, the path reveals itself. Every time you give, you realize you can never truly lose anything real. You see, what's real can never be threatened. Love is real, peace is real, joy is real, your true self is real. Everything else, all the fear and worry and stress and struggle, that's all illusion. It feels very real when you're caught in it, but it's just a story your ego is telling. And when you're ready, you stop believing the story. You wake up from the dream of separation and remember the truth of connection. You are connected to everything and everyone. There is no separation except in the mind. When you hurt another, you hurt yourself. When you help another, you help yourself. When you judge another, you judge yourself. This isn't just a nice philosophical idea. It's the fundamental nature of reality. We are all expressions of the same source, like waves in the ocean. Each wave is unique, but each wave is still the ocean. When you're ready to live from this understanding, everything changes. Competition becomes cooperation. Jealousy becomes inspiration. Fear becomes excitement. Problems become opportunities. Enemies become teachers. Life becomes an adventure instead of a struggle. And the best part is, you don't have to do anything to make this shift happen except get out of your own way. The universe is always conspiring in your favor. Always. Even when things seem to be falling apart, they're actually falling into place. Even when doors are closing, better ones are opening. Even when you're experiencing loss, you're making room for something greater. But you can only see this when you're ready, when you've developed the eyes to see beyond the surface appearance of things to the deeper intelligence orchestrating it all. And here's the secret that appears when you're ready. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to have a 5-year plan or know exactly where you're going. You just have to be present, right here, right now, and take the next obvious step. The universe doesn't reveal the entire staircase. It just lights up the next step. And when you take that step with trust and presence, the next one appears, and then the next. That's how your life unfolds when you're in alignment with Source. Most people miss their lives because they're so busy planning for the future or regretting the past that they're never actually here. And here is the only place where life happens. Here is the only moment where you can create, where you can choose, where you can experience the fullness of being alive. When you're ready, you come home to the present moment. You stop waiting for life to start and realize it's been happening all along. There's a part of you that knows all of this already. A part of you that has always known. It's the part that was never born and will never die. It's the eternal witness, the consciousness behind your thoughts, the awareness in which your entire life appears. When you're ready, you identify less with your thoughts, your emotions, your body, your circumstances, and more with this witnessing presence. You realize you are not the content of your consciousness. You are consciousness itself. This shift in identity is what the sages and mystics have been pointing to for thousands of years. It's not something you achieve or attain, it's something you realize you've always been. It's like spending your whole life looking for your glasses when they've been on your face the entire time. When you're ready, you stop searching and start seeing. And the beautiful thing is, once you see, you can't unsee. Once you taste this freedom, this peace, this connection to Source, you can never fully forget it again. Sure, you might get caught up in your ego from time to time. You might fall back into old patterns. But you'll always know there's another way. you'll always have that reference point of truth to come back to. The universe is patient. It waits for you to be ready. It doesn't judge you for taking your time. It doesn't condemn you for your mistakes. It simply holds space for your awakening, whenever that might be. And when it happens, when you finally open your eyes and see what's been there all along, the entire universe celebrates. Not because you've become something new, but because you've finally remembered what you've always been. You are a miracle, not in some distant, unattainable way, but right here, right now, exactly as you are. The fact that you exist is astronomically improbable. The fact that you're conscious, that you can think and feel and love and create, that's the greatest mystery in the known universe. And you're doing it, right now. You are the universe experiencing itself, the infinite expressing itself through finite form, the eternal playing in the field of time. When you're ready, you honor this miracle. You stop taking yourself for granted. You stop treating yourself as ordinary when you're anything but. You recognize that every moment is sacred, every breath is a gift, every heartbeat is a miracle. And from that recognition, gratitude naturally flows. Not gratitude for specific things or circumstances, but gratitude for being, for existence itself, for the sheer improbable wonder of being alive. And gratitude is the fastest way to shift your frequency. When you're truly grateful, you can't be fearful. When you're truly grateful, you can't feel lack. When you're truly grateful, you're in alignment with the abundance of the universe. Gratitude is the recognition that you already have everything you need, not necessarily everything you want, but everything you need in this moment. And this moment is all there ever is. The message that appears when you're ready is simple but profound. You are enough. You have always been enough. You will always be enough. Not because of what you do or accomplish or accumulate, but because of what you are. Your worth is inherent. It's not something you earn. It's not something you can lose. It's the ground of your being, as essential to you as existence itself. But the world has spent your whole life trying to convince you otherwise. It's told you that you're not enough unless you're smarter, prettier, richer, more successful, more popular. It's created an entire industry around making you feel inadequate so you'll buy products and services to fix yourself. And most people spend their entire lives trying to prove their worth, never realizing that the whole premise is false. When you're ready, you step out of that game. You stop trying to prove yourself. You stop competing for validation. You stop measuring your worth by external metrics. You simply be. And in that being, in that acceptance of yourself exactly as you are, you find the peace that surpasses all understanding. You find the joy that doesn't depend on circumstances. You find the love that has no opposite. This is what the great teachers have been trying to tell us. This is what every religion, every spiritual tradition, every wisdom teaching points toward when you strip away the cultural trappings and get to the core. You are divine. You are whole. You are loved beyond measure. And you don't have to do anything to deserve it. You already are it. But you can't hear this message until you're ready. You can't receive it until you've grown tired of suffering, until you've exhausted yourself trying to find fulfillment in external things, until you've finally turned inward and asked, who am I really? That question asked with genuine sincerity is the beginning of awakening. And the universe responds to that question with experiences and insights and teachers and circumstances that guide you home to yourself. You see, everything in your life is teaching you. Every person you meet is a mirror reflecting back aspects of yourself you need to see. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Every suffering is an invitation to deepen your compassion. Every moment of confusion is a doorway to clarity. But you only recognize this when you're ready. Before that, it just looks like random chaos, like life is happening to you, like you're a victim of circumstance. When you're ready, you take responsibility. Not blame, but responsibility. You recognize that while you can't control what happens to you, you absolutely can control how you respond to what happens. You can choose your thoughts. You can choose your perspective. You can choose your state of being. And in that choice lies your freedom. Most people think freedom is about having no constraints, being able to do whatever you want whenever you want. But that's not freedom. That's just a different kind of prison, because you're still at the mercy of your desires and impulses. True freedom is internal. It's the freedom to remain at peace regardless of external circumstances. It's the freedom to love even when you're not loved back. It's the freedom to give without needing to receive. It's the freedom to be yourself in a world constantly trying to make you someone else. And this freedom is available to everyone, but only when they're ready to claim it. You can't give it to someone. They have to realize it for themselves. They have to do the inner work. They have to face their shadows. They have to question their beliefs. They have to let go of their attachments. They have to surrender their ego. And that's not easy work. That's why most people never do it. They stay in their comfort zone, suffering in familiar ways, preferring the known discomfort to the unknown possibility of transformation. But you're different. The fact that you're here, that you're open to this message, means you're ready or getting ready. Something in you knows there's more to life than what you've been experiencing. Something in you is calling you toward your highest potential. And that something is the universe itself, speaking through your intuition, guiding you home. Listen to that voice. Trust that guidance. It won't always make sense. It might ask you to do things that seem crazy to others. It might lead you down paths that appear uncertain, but it will never lead you astray. Your inner wisdom, when you're connected to it, is infallible. It's the voice of Source speaking directly to you. And when you're ready, you learn to distinguish that voice from all the other voices in your head, the voice of fear, the voice of ego, the voice of conditioning. The voice of truth is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't make you feel bad about yourself. It simply guides with love and clarity. It feels like peace. It feels like rightness. It feels like home. And the more you listen to it, the louder it becomes, until eventually it's the primary voice you hear, and all the other voices fade into the background. This is what it means to be awakened. Not that you never have problems or challenges or difficult emotions, but that you're no longer identified with them. You watch them arise and pass like clouds in the sky, knowing that you are the sky, not the clouds. You are the space in which everything appears, not the things that appear in the space. And from that perspective, everything changes. You can experience pain without suffering. You can face loss without devastation. You can encounter failure without defining yourself by it, because you know who you are beyond all those experiences. You know yourself as the unchanging awareness behind the changing circumstances. And that knowing gives you a stability, a groundedness, a peace that can never be taken away by external events. This is what the universe wants for you. This is what it's been trying to show you all along. And when you're ready, when you've opened yourself enough to receive it, the message comes through loud and clear. You are loved, you are supported, you are guided, you are divine, you are whole, you are free. Not someday when you get your act together, not when you achieve certain goals, not when you become a better person, but right now, exactly as you are. The universe doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be authentic. It needs you to express your unique gifts. It needs you to shine your light in your own particular way. No one else can do what you came here to do. No one else has your exact combination of talents and experiences and perspectives. You are utterly unique, and your uniqueness is not a flaw to be corrected. It's your greatest gift to the world. But to share that gift, you have to be ready to be vulnerable. You have to be ready to be seen. You have to be ready to risk failure and criticism and rejection. You have to be ready to value your own authentic expression more than you value others' approval. And that takes courage, real courage. The kind of courage that doesn't come from the ego trying to prove something, but from the soul knowing its worth. When you're ready, you find that courage, not because you're suddenly fearless, but because you're more committed to your truth than you are controlled by your fear. You feel the fear and you move forward anyway. You hear the voice of doubt and you trust the voice of truth even louder. You notice the resistance and you choose love instead. And every time you make that choice, you strengthen the muscle of faith. You build momentum. You create evidence for yourself that the universe really does have your back. And that evidence accumulates over time. You look back at your life and see how every closed door led to a better opportunity, how every heartbreak opened your heart wider, how every challenge made you stronger, how every dark night gave way to a brighter dawn. And you realize that the universe has always been guiding you, even when you couldn't see it, even when you felt lost and alone. You were never alone. You were always held in the loving embrace of the infinite. That realization, when it comes, is the beginning of true faith. Not belief in some external deity, but trust in the intelligence of life itself. Trust that life knows what it's doing. Trust that you're exactly where you need to be. Trust that everything is unfolding perfectly, even when it doesn't look perfect. Trust that the universe is on your side, not because you're special, but because everyone is special, because all of life is sacred, because consciousness is all there is, and consciousness is inherently benevolent. You might wonder how consciousness can be benevolent when there's so much suffering in the world, and that's a fair question. The answer is that suffering comes from resistance, from the ego fighting against what is, from the illusion of separation. The universe doesn't create suffering. It creates experiences. How we relate to those experiences determines whether we suffer or grow. When we resist, we suffer. When we accept, we're free. And acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It doesn't mean you don't work to change things or make the world better. It means you accept what is before you try to change it. You start from a place of peace rather than a place of resistance. You act from love rather than fear. You respond rather than react. And actions that come from that place are far more effective than actions that come from struggle and force. When you're ready, you understand the difference between force and power. Force is the ego trying to make things happen. Power is allowing things to happen through you. Force exhausts you. Power energizes you. Force meets resistance. Power flows effortlessly. Force comes from lack. Power comes from abundance. When you're operating from power, from alignment with Source, you accomplish more with less effort. You're in the flow. You're riding the current of the universe rather than swimming against it. And here's the beautiful paradox. The less you care about the outcome, the better the outcome tends to be. When you're attached to specific results, you're tense, contracted, afraid of failure. But when you're focused on the process, on showing up fully in each moment, on expressing your gifts regardless of the outcome, you're free. And that freedom allows your creativity to flourish. It allows opportunities to come that you never could have planned or forced. The universe has a plan for you that's far greater than anything your ego could conceive. Your ego thinks small. It thinks in terms of survival and comfort and security. But your soul thinks big. It thinks in terms of expression and contribution and love. It's not afraid to take risks because it knows there's nothing to lose. Everything is temporary anyway. The only thing that endures is consciousness itself, and you are that. When you're ready to live from that truth, to align yourself with your soul's purpose rather than your ego's agenda, your life becomes an adventure. You wake up each morning excited to see what the day will bring. You meet each person as a potential teacher. You see each challenge as an invitation to grow. You experience each moment as the precious gift it is. Time doesn't drag. It flows. Life doesn't feel heavy. It feels light, playful, magical even. And you start to notice synchronicities everywhere. Meaningful coincidences, people showing up at just the right time with just the right message, books falling off shelves, songs playing that speak directly to your situation, dreams that provide guidance, signs that confirm you're on the right path. The universe is always communicating with you, but you can only perceive the messages when you're on the right frequency, when you're ready to receive them. This is not magical thinking, this is reality. We live in an interconnected, intelligent universe where consciousness is fundamental. And when your individual consciousness aligns with universal consciousness, the two work together in harmony. It's not that the universe is doing things for you. It's that you've removed the obstacles that were preventing the natural flow of creative energy through you. You become a vessel, a channel, an instrument through which Source expresses itself. And that's the highest calling any human can have. Not to be important or famous or successful in the conventional sense, but to be a pure expression of the divine, sharing your unique gifts in service of the whole. When you live this way, you're fulfilled regardless of external circumstances. Because fulfillment doesn't come from getting what you want. It comes from being who you are. And who are you? You're not your job title or your bank account balance or your relationship status or your body or your thoughts or your emotions or your past or your plans for the future. You are the awareness in which all of that appears and disappears. You are the eternal presence witnessing the temporary forms. You are the unmanifest expressing itself in manifest form. You are the infinite pretending to be finite for the sheer joy of the experience. When you're ready, you remember this, not as an intellectual concept, but as a lived reality. You feel it in your bones, you know it in your heart, and from that knowing, you live differently. You love more freely because you're not afraid of loss. You give more generously because you know abundance is your nature. You create more boldly because you're not attached to results. You rest more deeply because you trust the universe to handle what you can't control. This is the message that appears when you're ready. This is what the universe has been waiting to tell you. Not that you need to become something you're not, but that you need to stop pretending to be something you're not. You need to stop playing small. You need to stop hiding your light. You need to stop letting fear run your life. You need to step into the fullness of who you are and let the world benefit from your presence. The world needs you. Not the mass version of you, not the people-pleasing version of you, not the safe version of you. The world needs the real you, with all your quirks and imperfections and unique perspectives. The world needs your authentic voice, your creative expression, your loving presence, and you're ready now. You're ready to give it. You're ready to be it. You're ready to live it. So what do you do with this readiness? You take the next step, just the next step. Not the whole staircase, just the next step. What feels right in this moment? What's your heart calling you toward? What small action could you take right now to align yourself more fully with your truth? Do that, and then the next step will reveal itself, and then the next. That's how transformation happens. Not in some dramatic overnight change, but in a series of small, courageous choices made one moment at a time. And remember, this is a process. You don't arrive at some final destination where you've got it all figured out and you're permanently enlightened and nothing ever bothers you again. Life keeps happening, challenges keep arising. But each time you meet them from this place of readiness, from this connection to Source, you handle them with more grace. You suffer less. You love more. You trust deeper. You become more of who you really are. And as you do, you inspire others. Not by preaching or teaching or telling people what to do, but simply by being. Your presence becomes medicine. Your energy becomes contagious. Others feel the peace and joy and freedom radiating from you, and something in them awakens. They start asking themselves the questions you've been asking. They start seeking the truth you found. They start their own process of becoming ready. And the ripple effect continues, spreading out in ways you'll never fully see or understand. This is how the world changes. Not through revolution or force, but through evolution and awakening. One person at a time remembering who they really are. One soul at a time aligning with Source. One heart at a time opening to love. You are part of this great awakening. Your readiness contributes to the collective readiness. Your healing contributes to the healing of the world. Never underestimate the impact of your personal transformation on the whole. The universe brought you here for a reason. The universe knows you're ready for this message. And now that you've received it, now that these words have landed in your consciousness, you have a choice. You can let them fade into the background and continue living the way you've always lived, or you can take them to heart and let them transform you from the inside out. You can ignore the call, or you can answer it. You can play small, or you can expand into your magnificence. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. And the universe will support whatever you choose. But if you're truly ready, you know what you need to do. You feel it. You've always felt it. There's a part of you that's been waiting your whole life for this moment, for this permission to finally be yourself, to finally trust yourself, to finally love yourself enough to live the life you came here to live. That part of you is ready. That part of you has always been ready. And now the rest of you is catching up. So take a breath. Feel your aliveness. Notice the miracle of this moment. You're here. You're awake. You're ready. The universe knows it. And now, so do you.